Welcome at the Chronext Watchtalk. My name is Philipp Mann. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Chronext. We are in our offices in Cologne, Germany today, and I have Jorn Werdelin, the founder and CEO of Linde Werdelin today, and we will talk about watches, skiing, and what makes the watch industry so peculiar and interesting. Would be great if you can kind of give us an understanding, how did you start doing your own watch brand, and what did you do before that? What made you think this is actually a smart idea to...
I don't think it's a particularly smart idea.
But why did you do it?
Maybe it's just in my DNA.
Because your father was a jeweler?
Father, grandfather, and great-grandfather.
Yeah.
So my whole family on my father's side were in the watch and jewelry business.
So becoming a banker was weird, not to actually doing watches?
Yes, I have lived in England since 1990,
yeah.
and I came over to work in banking.
Okay.
So I worked for about 10 years in banking,
yeah.
and in 2000 I just found that I needed to do something for myself.
Okay.
And then Morten and I, we have known each other since we were about 6 years old.
Yeah.
And Morten is he's an educated product designer in Denmark, and he had done some other watches before. And then when I came back to Denmark, we sort of discussed this. What about if you have a watch that you can keep on your wrist while you're doing sports, whether you're diving or skiing or whatever, right? And then you only add the functionality when you need it. We thought, okay, do the best we can here, and do the best we can there.
Like the elegance of a mechanical timepiece with the benefits of having a Tissot T-Touch, for instance.
Well, exactly. And it's kind of, I would say this is the first smartwatch.
Yeah, the first mechanical smartwatch. Yeah.
The first mechanical smartwatch. And actually the shape of a Linde Werdelin watch is made to work with the instrument. And that's why all our cases are exactly the same shape.
Okay.
So and I think that's relatively unique in that all our watches, they have exactly the same diameter, same shape, and that's because of the instruments. So this does altitude, temperature, inclination. In one sense, all our watches are functional. They are sports watches, and they're meant to be.
Yeah.
We've tried to focus also that the movements are as practical and as functional and as sturdy as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say we don't do these anymore because technology has kind of surpassed us.
Yeah.
When we launched this, that was a month before the iPhone.
Yeah, no iPhone at the time.
The problem that we had back in 2011 or 2012 was that you could download an app that can do almost the same for about €1.49.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the same style.
It doesn't have the same style. So at that time we realized, okay, well, let's not focus so much on the instrument. It's part of the history of the brand. But let's focus on the watches. Yes.
So what kind of watches did you bring today? And
so I mean, I thought I would bring some of my personal pieces and just also sort of to go back a little bit. So this is the original Biphometer Founder's Watch, and actually this
that's the first Linde Werdelin.
So that's the very first Linde Werdelin, and we did a series of 222 pieces.
And that's steel, or what is it?
So that's steel.
Yep.
And that particular watch has a bit of a funny story because I gave it to my son, and the number of it is J7.
Yeah.
And then some years back, I got a phone call from a Danish journalist who had bought it at a police auction.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
And he calls me up and says, "Jorn, what is this watch? Because I've just bought it and it has a very weird number." So I called up my son and said, where's your watch?
But your son was not missing or anything?
No, he's like, well, I don't really know. So I said, well, I know where it is. So
this was actually in the police compound, yeah? In Denmark?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's actually crazy that it found their way back to you, right?
No, but that's, I think that's kind of the beauty of watches too, right? Is that they stay around, and with a lot of watches, there is a very personal story to it.
Yeah.
So in 2009 in Basel, we launched this piece, which is called the Spider Light. And this we did with Svend Andersen, who has a blue gold rotor on the back. And instead of just doing a lighter version of this one, Morten got this idea from a rally car idea, that you scrape everything away.
Yeah.
And we started doing that. And we almost did it by hand in the first watches, and we realized that doesn't really work.
Yeah. And this is titanium, this piece.
And this is titanium.
I mean, this is the same one as we have.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I would say, and that's why we have the original timepieces called the Biphometer, which is kind of an amalgamation of two shapes, so round and square, and digital and analog and so forth. Yeah. And then in 2009 we decided, okay, this is something, right? Because that's inspired by the universe of going up
Yeah.
Right? The construction of the watch is inspired by that, by taking away weight. So from then on, we focused on one family, the Spidos, the Spido Light and the Spido Speed that you're wearing,
which is forged carbon. Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the the extension of that, because it's lightweight material, it's scraped out or skeletonized as it is, and also we did a 3D movement there where we really sort of emptied it out.
Yeah.
And then the other family that we did then was to have a family that goes into the sea.
Yeah.
And that became the Octopus.
And Octopus you chose as a name simply because it's a smart animal that goes deep.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's incredibly versatile and also very intelligent.
Yeah. I think it's the smartest underwater animal, isn't it?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
So this was the first one. We did this one in 29.
Yeah.
But at that point we did it with a Frédéric Piquet movement.
Yeah.
And we realized, even if that's a beautiful movement, that it's not
enough.
really meant for sport, because you can't have a fine movement and then being able to bang your watches around on a reef or on Mount Everest or skiing or climbing or whatever. So I mean, it's in spite of that, we decided let's go for high quality but also very strong movements.
So before we talk about some other stuff, what are the other timepieces that you brought, and also can you show us a little bit what you're wearing, because I think this is quite specific.
So the Octopus moon tattoo was, I think, at a time when Morten and I said let's go all the way.
Yeah.
Everything we've done before we'll put into one timepiece. So we made this the Octopus, and I think it has several elements to it.
I think this is your favorite watch, no? Because I always see you when we meet, you mostly wear this.
Really? That's why, because I want to impress you.
Yeah, maybe. I'm very impressed because I mean I've not really seen a watch before that is tattooed, and I think that's pretty cool.
So it has two things. First of all, it's 3D machine engraved around the gold, and it's based on a drawing of an octopus that a Danish tattoo artist did for us back in 2008.
Looks almost medieval from the style of it.
Yeah, and I think that's because also time, gives the gold color. And then inside the moon, and the moon phase is so that you can plan night diving.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously when you go diving, and if you go diving at night, you want to do it when it's full moon.
And this is also a diving watch, the other one we have here?
So the last one, that's actually a prototype.
Oh, really?
This is a prototype that something we're launching in a couple of weeks in London.
It's a beautiful dial.
Thank you.
So how is this a guillotine style, or how would you describe this?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Because it's quite specific from the look that it has, that it actually becomes larger.
I think part of it is it's a GMT watch, and so the dial sort of signifies the 360 degrees around the globe.
It's a really beautiful timepiece. So what do you think, what will change in the industry, and what will change for you guys?
It's a fascinating industry, and partly because it's gone through and is going through such a change.
It's so different than everything else.
Yeah, and when I look back, to 10 years ago when we launched and where we are today, it's incredible what's been going on. And
what's the biggest change for you?
Well, I think in one word, it's the internet.
I'm not sure if you remember how we got in touch, but you
on
actually,
Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah. You commented on one of my posts.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, let's give it a try. What do you think about selling Linde Werdelin on Chronext? You said, all right, let's meet in London, and then we did. And
it's how it impacts everything in a company. The manufacturing, the management, the awareness, the sales.
Speaking of Basel, do you think it will survive?
Oh, well, you know what? We were the first ones to leave in 2015, and there was an interview with me in the Financial Times, and I got a lot of stick for saying that I thought that Basel wasn't that relevant anymore. It may be relevant to some brands, but we paid an enormous amount of money every year to participate. And in the years where there was an idea of having distribution and global retail, it worked. But I think Basel World should be a facilitator. It's not about the Basel World. Yeah. It's about brands and customers. That's kind of the original idea for Basel, right? That people came down from the mountains in the spring And then, they would go around and say, here, give me some hands and give me a dial, or, I'll place an order for this, for that, right? And in the old days, for instance, when my dad used to go to Basel in the 60s and 70s, how would he get news?
Yeah, I mean,
there was no Instagram,
thing.
there was no social media, there was no internet.
Yeah.
How would the customer know where, which watches were out there? They would need to go to a physical shop. These days, as we know, you can get any information anywhere at any time.
But you think it will survive or not?
Basel?
Yeah.
Certainly not in the shape that it has now, and not to the to the cost of the people that participate. Why should they want to pay, 80 Swiss franc for sausage? That's it, right?
It's a good sausage. So
It's a good sausage, but you have to be hungry to pay 80.
But it's true. I think the whole industry is changing, and I think Basel, at least to me, probably one of the younger people in the industry, it's quite intimidating, and it actually, you have this beautiful product, like watches, mechanical timepieces. It's so emotional, and then you actually go into this, Halle 1, and you can't touch the products, and you can't go into the stands, and it's all intimidating. And
it's for a different time.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's for a time when luxury was supposed to be almost untouchable. I believe that luxury for my parents' generation was something to be venerated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think luxury for your generation is something completely different.
Sure. So maybe one last question before I let you go again back to London. It's a little bit of a provocative one, but a friend of mine who's a big Linde Werdelin fan said, please ask, is there any correlation with it looking like a Royal Oak offshore or an AP? What is your answer to that when people say it?
First of all, I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, you should.
I think AP, it's a beautiful brand,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful watch. I think when you put the two alongside each other, there are many differences, and obviously some similarities. But I think you can turn that question around and say, doesn't every other watch then look like a Patek Philippe?
You could say that.
Right? Because an original watch is round because it encases the movement, and then with two locks and a strap.
Sure.
So 97% of all watches look the same. And then 3% of watches, they look slightly different, including ours.
Yeah.
And they then fall into the category probably of, Audemars Piguet, maybe Hublot, some other.
People say it's of
sports.
Hublot and AP as well. I mean, before we go, aside from me, obviously, who would be your perfect wearer of a watch? I mean, I'm already wearing it, but if you could choose anyone in the world, celebrities, politicians, who would be the person that you would want to be seen with a Linde Werdelin?
James Bond.
James Bond, yeah?
Right.
I think Amiga pays a lot of money for that.
Yeah. No, but listen, when he comes up, I think it's Dr. No and Sean Connery, right?
Yeah.
And he steps out of his, diving suit, and he's in a tux, right? I mean, I think in one sense, right, that's kind of what we like to achieve, right?
Yeah.
That you can wear your watch, right, in a tuxedo, and then you put this on,
and you
right?
go ski.
And you go skiing or you go diving.
I'll tell Daniel Craig when I see him next.
I think you should.
And in any case, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. And if you like the Chronext Watch Talk, feel free to subscribe us on YouTube. And if you have any questions to Jorn or me, hit us up on Instagram. We will be there and happy to answer. Thank you.